What's up, folks? I wanted to take a second to address the PvP results from the latest PvP event, the synced player versus player event that we just had in Warhammer Combat Cards. We're about to have another one, and I'm planning to release this video the morning that that comes out, so this should be timely. And I just wanted to go over the top 5 highest win rate Warlords versus the percentage of battles. So it's the percent of battles that they were in that they won, and then the percent of total battles that they were in across the board. Now, a couple quick speculation pieces here. I believe this doesn't include mirror matches, so if it was Akaran versus Akaran, that wouldn't figure in this. I'm not sure what other filtering applied either, but these are the results that we were given by our community management team. On that note, I wanted to do a big shout out to Roxy, which is the username in Discord of the community manager who's doing a lot of the work with Warhammer Combat Cards in both Discord and Reddit, I believe. I've had the delight of working with many different community managers, and Roxy stands out as a particularly good one. So shout out there. Very involved, really good. It does take a little bit of data wrangling to get this, so that's why we have the top 5. We have occasionally seen the bottom 5, but we didn't see that this time. And I did actually ask to get all of them and got a flat no, which I totally understand, just because there is a lot of back and forth and data wrangling to get these at all. Some data cleanup has to go into it, so here we are. I do also want to go ahead and add the caveat that this is with a small sample size. This is only Warhammer Combat Cards players and only players who played the PvP event. And there's a wide variety there, right? Of people who just jumped in to try it out. There's probably the majority of players, but the majority of games was those dedicated few that really wanted to win mostly. I'm sure there are some people that just tried stuff out, or people like me who won it and then played a bunch of games with a bunch of random stuff to see what stuck. So just to go through the list, Belisarius Call topped the list with a 51.1% win rate, but an extremely low play rate, less than 4%, only 3.3% of total battles. That means that the players who have Call are really investing a bunch into him and more than likely know what they're doing more than the average player. Also note on this, if you watch the next two, especially the next one, number 2 has a 47.2% win rate and almost 30% of total battles, and that's Captain Akaran. The starter Space Marine, still probably the most popular out there, still one of the most powerful, and Call is a hard counter to Akaran because you go straight through fear, straight through shields. I really appreciate Call's position in the meta because of that. And even though Call's win rate is really high, the play rate is so low, meh. It's not like you're just hitting a wall of Call decks all day long. So we may see conversation about it, balance change for Call, but I find it unlikely. Akaran, though, we may see a balance there. I think that would probably be indirect, largely nerfing the bodyguards he comes with, maybe making a change to the ability. One ability that I would like to see, or one change I'd like to see with Akaran, is when a card dies the first time, it then is not killed and instead starts with 5 health and stays on the board. If that could be changed from 5 to 1, that would be a really small change, but would also make it that much easier to take him out. Because there are a fair number of bodyguards in the game, especially at lower level, who have a melee or ranged attack of, say, 3, which isn't enough to actually finish that off. But yeah, and then also something like that would make poison, even rank 1 poison, actually dangerous to Akaran cards, even if it's a low rank. So I would appreciate seeing that. Even 4. So like changing it from 5 to 4 is a small change, but it's enough that your low rank poison cards become a legitimate threat. Also, Space Marines right now have an insane number of shields. Shields and fear, and those really dominate the deck in general, and so that's one of the things that makes it very dangerous. And that's kind of a perfect segue into our third on the list is Watch Captain Artemis. And his ability is, of course, when you play a friendly Space Marine card, or a friendly card now that we removed the Warlord restrictions, when you play a friendly card, it automatically does auto damage to an opposing card through shields. Now, since those Akaran decks were largely somewhat small and relied on a smaller pool of really powerful cards, and they relied heavily on shields and fear, Artemis can cut through that and really soften those cards up before you actually play. And now Artemis's win rate, again, was very high with a low play rate. I would love to see Artemis played more. I personally think that competitively, Artemis is actually the best of the Space Marine decks, better than Akaran, just because Akaran has hard counters and Artemis doesn't. And Artemis can just build the deck however you want as long as you have a lot of cards. So that's definitely something to watch out for. Next up, we had Rowboat himself, Rowboat Guilliman, been in the game a little bit longer, so his percent of battles was 7.1, win rate of 45.7, which is almost exactly the same as Captain Artemis. Those two are really similar, off by 0.1% in play rate, or in win rate, excuse me, and 0.8% in play rate, Artemis being slightly higher. Another thing about Artemis, he's an absolutely incredible end game piece because he has that dead shot, that target acquired versus the opposing warlord. And I believe he has Big Game Hunter still, if he hasn't been changed, I think. I'd have to double check that. But that makes him especially dangerous against both Call and Guilliman, so that makes him a good counter to some of the top decks out of there, that Big Game Hunter. And then the target acquired makes him very strong against Akaran, because it lets you focus your damage on Akaran, punch through those shields, and then hit him multiple times to hopefully get that second kill. One of the things that saves Akaran a lot is you have to hit him at minimum 4 times. 3 shield, well, max level it's 5 times. You got to get through all 4 shields and then also kill him twice. And if you've got even one bodyguard in the wings, especially if it also has shields or multiple lives, it really reduces your damage potential and lets him get through. But if you have that target acquired to punch straight through to Akaran, that really speeds up how quickly you can take him down. So that's where Artemis comes up really well. And then also just being able to go straight through Fear, because Artemis's ability is not affected by damage reduction like Fear, so it just does the full amount. And especially if the opposing card is high hit points, that's a really powerful piece. Robot Guilliman is just good. He's got really solid stats, and he just takes very powerful Space Marine cards and makes them more powerful, right? Talking about both Akaran and Guilliman, another potential nerf to Akaran could be just kind of toning down some of the more powerful Space Marine cards. Now, they're not really a problem unless you do these max level PvP campaigns, and even then, there are counters. It's just a bummer that you do have to build all of your decks to counter those because their play rate is so high. So, we'll talk about that. I'm probably going to do another cover in this upcoming PvP event to cover a little bit more how to deal with Akaran, just hopefully to be helpful. The last contender on this list was a funny piece. We got Boss Snickrot. And this is the Orc Warlord who does double damage off lane, right? So if you have target acquired or taunt, all of the cards that are hitting something that's not directly across from them do double damage. Super strong against all of the top Warlords out there because you get that target acquired. Just doing that bonus damage is really good because all of the defensive pieces of shields and fear are both better lane to lane, right? If you're shooting off lane, that's already a weakness. And then also Snickrot usually has a lot of target acquired, and that the modifier for this campaign was cut off the head. He only needed a couple high value kills to go ahead and get a bit of a snowball going and win. Yeah, so it was good to see that. And there was some commentary there that it was specifically the modifier of cut off the head that makes Snickrot so good. And also that's what made Call and Akaran so good, is Call has a few really, really powerful cards that are hard to kill. So they had a points fortress, so you weren't able to actually kill the really powerful cards before they killed some of your powerful cards. And then that snowballed, and Call's few more powerful cards got more dangerous as the game went on. Likewise for Akaran, it's just that durability. You're more likely to benefit from that cut off the head bonus because your cards are sticking around so much longer. And they're harder to kill. So your opponent is less able to do a snowball because they have to punch through more to get that bonus to their own cards that aren't as durable. Yeah, interesting one on this one. Another tidbit that wasn't necessarily included in the data but did come up in the chatter afterwards on the Warhammer Combat Cards Discord is that Greyfax was still in the top 10% of win rate of Warlords, which is cool. Or excuse me, not top 10%, top 10. She was one of the top 10 highest win rate Warlords, but we didn't see that full data because it wasn't cleaned up. So, but I wanted to throw that in there because there have been a serious reduction in Greyfax play rate because of the nerf. But then after the most recent buff, I think she's probably right back in line with the competitive spot that she should be. So definitely one worth trying out, especially in Cut Off the Head, especially with smaller decks. Just watch out for an increase in Watch Captain Artemis's play rate, because if Artemis comes up more, the smaller decks that you do with Greyfax will be more at risk. But there actually is a natural counter there, because Greyfax makes cards tougher, but it does not increase the damage they would take from Artemis plays, right? So Artemis does percent damage based on the starting health of a card, whereas Greyfax's buffed health is not its starting health there. So you end up taking less damage. So the next PvP event is going to be Tyranids focused, and I'm really excited about it. The free card is one of the best cards in the Tyranid faction, period, and it's hard to get copies of, so I'm definitely going to grind that one. But yeah, we'll see. So here's the deal. We got to go into this and beat Captain Akaran and put some other teams in the top 5. This is my sort of challenge to my wonderful viewers. Let's go ahead and try to make a non-Space Marine number 1 or 2. Okay, I mean, Bella's call, okay, non-Imperium. So let's really come into this one strong with our non-Imperium decks and see if we can make a dent here. And that's it. Appreciate the time. Good luck today.